Ben, really, what better place to go than big money power and the hedge funds?
Absolutely, yeah. Dirty money in Germany, dirty money in the UK. And we're going to have a look at how international investors and algorithmic trading companies in the City of London are pumping millions of pounds into the UK political system in order to create and capture a £1 trillion marketplace in climate technology. And we're going to start by looking at this organisation. This is Quadrature, a technology business that takes trading positions determined by statistical models to generate returns on its own proprietary capital. They use algorithms to trade with their own money to make essentially perpetual profits, like a money printing machine. They call it the ultimate automated trading business. And you'll notice, if you're paying attention to the video running on screen, there are no people in the video on their website. That's quite interesting, very telling. They do actually have a few employees. They've got just over 200 employees. They're based in the City of London, right next to the Gherkin, and they pay their people an average of £3.6 million a year each in 2022. Right, so they're generating an enormous amount of money. They're incredibly opaque. So both technologically, they run a black box trading system. We don't understand how this thing operates in the background. Financially, it's based in the Cayman Islands, so it's in a tax haven. And culturally, it's described by the people in industry as a bit of a cult. Right, so this is quite an interesting term to use when talking about an organisation like this. The cult is led by these two. So this is Greg Skinner and Sunil Setia, who are big-time maths and science guys. One studied mathematics, one studied physics, Cambridge and Manchester University, respectively. They've been working in the city for the past 30 years. They set Quadrature up about 15 years ago. And interestingly, they receive no salaries from the business, but instead they've taken a combined total of about £160 million in low interest loans from the company in order to drastically reduce the amount of income tax that they have to pay, which makes them perfect candidates to make huge donations to the Labour Party. And last year, they gave £4 million to Labour. It's the largest ever donation that has been given to the Labour Party in its entire history. And this was particularly interesting. This report here from Open Democracy came in September, and they revealed that the Labour received the donation in the 1 week window between the former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak announcing the general election and the start of the pre-poll reporting period, in which all political donations over £11,180 had to be published weekly rather than the quarterly norm. So essentially, they've made this donation deliberately in that period to avoid scrutiny ahead of the election. I think we have to assume that Starmer et al., the whole Labour apparatus, would have known about this. I can't say whether it was their choice to do so or not, but...
Well, the minimum is they could have declared it to the public, right, so that it was made highly visible to the public. And of course, that didn't happen, in line with my opening segment today, where Starmer and his team do not want to tell the public how they're even running the government. So
exactly,
a lot of questions, Ben.
4 million straight into the Labour Party, and then what else is Quadrature doing with the money? It's putting tens, hundreds of millions into this thing. This is the Quadrature Climate Foundation. The new climate reality demands unprecedented climate action. We're very familiar with all this stuff. And what are they up to? So they say that their work has a global focus. Since launching in 2019, we've committed more than $1 billion to more than 180 organizations in 17 countries advancing climate solutions around the world. This includes donations to the United Nations, the London School of Economics, Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors, the World Economic Forum, the Bureau for Investigative Journalism, interestingly. So they're funding the people that are supposed to be investigating them. No conflict of interest there at all. And also Apolitical Foundation, who I'll come back to a little bit later. Now, all this climate stuff, you could present this potentially as being altruistic. They want to fix the problems of the world. But unfortunately, I'm a bit more cynical. And actually, the actions of the founders suggest that that's not what's going on here at all, because Greg Skinner at the start of this year acquired a 50% stake in Ethical Power Group, right, which is a UK business actually based in Exeter, just down the road. And they've already got 14 projects up and running across the UK. It's solar energy. You can see the image just popping in at the bottom of the frame there. And his money includes a £15 million working capital loan to support the growth of this organisation in the UK market and internationally. So the Quadrature Fund, one of the owners, has got a vested interest in the commercial growth and development of the market that his charitable fund is promoting, is pushing the agenda for.
Sounds par for the course.
Absolutely. And what else has he got from his money from the Labour government? Well, quite a lot, actually. So the UK Climate Envoy, so our top international voice, talking about climate issues. This lady, Rachel Kite, former World Bank climate chief, was put into position in September, right? So Quadrature have had put a load of money in. There's this appointment is made, and she's actually a trustee of the Quadrature Climate Foundation. So she's on the board, and she hasn't resigned that position. Yeah, so she's still a trustee while operating in that capacity for the British government. And Quadrature have also put a lot of money, as we're about to find out, into Apolitical Foundation in order to retrain UK government officials to make them more amenable to the climate agenda. Let's hear it from Lisa Witter now.
Jeremy Oppenheim announced that the Quadrature Climate Foundation has awarded the government climate campus. Robin told you a little bit about that. Pooja told you a little bit about that, which was named as one of Fast Company's most innovative ideas in the world, which we're really proud of. $1 million grant to train 25,000 policymakers. You know, we like to work at the whole stack of government, as we say, from the national down to the very local where those shovels hit the ground.
Astonishing. I'm going to say astonishing, Ben, because she is really telling us what's going on. So when she's talking about training, what she really means is reframing. Remember, the government is using applied psychology to change the way people think without them knowing what's being done. That's the technology being used in courses. And then she says something very important there, down to the level, the bottom level shovels on the ground. They need people at local level to implement their policies, because if people at local level do not implement the policies, this game is all over. So if you're watching today's news thinking, my goodness, what can we do? It is so easy. You say no to the policy at local level.
100%. That's the Achilles heel of the whole thing, right? So that's Lisa Witter. We've talked about Lisa Witter a lot. A young global leader of the World Economic Forum. She's one of the chiefs of Apolitical Foundation, who are in the process right now of retraining, reframing UK government, global governments. They're in 170 countries. One of the primary mechanisms for the Great Reset agenda to be driven down into nation states, right? That's what she's up to. And she mentioned a few things, which I'm going to unpick. So first one was this guy, Jeremy Oppenheim. Right, so he started off as a senior economist at the World Bank back in the 80s. He then spent 23 years at McKinsey, becoming ultimately their senior partner for sustainability. McKinsey, one of the top tier global strategy firms and a strategic partner of the World Economic Forum. And for the past 9 years, he's been a partner and now recently become managing partner of Systemic, which is a blended advisory and investment firm whose purpose is to create disruptions in the world's critical economic systems. That's literally how they describe what they do. And that's capital and ideas, particularly focused around food, energy, all of the industrial transformations that we've been talking about. And what he doesn't have listed on his LinkedIn profile is this role. So he's a co-chair of the advisory board at the Quadrature Climate Foundation. And as Lisa Witter just told us, they put $1 million to retrain 25,000 policymakers into this thing. which is the Government Climate Campus. This is one of the Apolitical flagship programs. So they talk about building energy and climate capable governments this decade, an ambitious global partnership hosted by Apolitical to rapidly upskill whole government workforces with the energy, climate and nature training needed for impactful actions. People are going to take action. Quadrature are behind it, but also Bezos, Earth Fund, Rockefeller Brothers Fund, the Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office. So UK government is absolutely at the centre of this global transition process. And what are they training people on? So if you go and look at the website, we provide some links, you can see that the agenda for the Climate Campus is climate change and health, climate change and mental health. They love to tie all these things together, centering equity in climate action. So there's very much this kind of neo-Marxist dynamic to this, but the leveling out of living standards artificially, internationally, climate finance, green growth, and an introduction to the energy transition, which is an energy transition based on energy systems sold by people like Greg Skinner, who is behind the Quadrature Climate Foundation, and then ultimately paid for through taxation, through money printing, like Jobs was talking about earlier on, but then also through loans from people like Jeremy Oppenheim at Systemic. And crucially, as Brian's pointed out, the final quote there in the video was that we like to work at every level, from national to very local, where those shovels hit the ground. And just to reinforce Brian's excellent point, if we want to stop this thing in its tracks, then that's where we need to focus our energy, and it's actually where we can get the most traction. So
people can do things, and it does make a difference, and all it requires is two or more of you to get together and to take that action at local level. But it's very clear Starmer is also now having to admit that they're beginning to lose control of the narrative, and that means more of the applied psychology from within Parliament, but also, of course, more censorship of free speech. And I have no doubt that Ofcom is one of the tools that's going to be used to do that. No doubt we'll be speaking about that a bit more in the near